Hello, girls and boys. Welcome to Storytime Fun. I dedicate this next book to my precious grandchildren, Ethan, Denver, Summer, and Violet. Today's story is one of the Mr. T and Me series by Charlotte Graeber, called I'm So What? Once a week, I go to the YMCA for Saturday Spectacular. We swim, play games, work out in the gym. One Saturday, our teacher, Miss Allen, said, "Let's put on a gymnastics show. If we charge admission, we can make enough money to buy new gym mats." Miss Allen is always getting bright ideas. Some of them don't work out. Like the time she told us Mr. T would come to our class. She said he comes to the Y every once in a while, but I've never seen him. The gymnastics show sounded like one of her better ideas. The mats in the gym were getting pretty ratty. The one I was sitting on had 2 big holes in it. "Everyone will take part," Miss Allen said. Everyone. I still thought it was a good idea. I could sell tickets. I could show people where to sit. I would not have to be in the show. Miss Allen started making plans right away. "We will have to practice every day, and some of us will have to work extra hard." And she looked straight at me. I began to get worried. I knew I'd make a fool of myself if I was in the show. Everyone would laugh. "Let's see," Miss Allen said. "Shelley can perform on the high bars, and Anne can do floor exercises." That made sense. Shelley was really good, and Anne tumbled like a human jumping bean. No one was surprised when Miss Allen chose Pam to perform on the balance beam. Pam could balance on anything, even a tightrope, if she tried. "Marcy, you can perform on the beam too. A back bend, I think." I jumped up from the mat. "I don't want to. No way," I shouted. Everyone laughed, and Miss Allen blew her whistle. "You can try, Marcy," she said. "Everyone can try." We started practicing the next Saturday. I watched Pam on the balance beam. She belonged up there, not me. I never did anything right. When Pam finished, she flipped onto the mat in perfect form. "Marcy, you're up next, up on the beam," Miss Allen shouted. After Pam, I knew I would look like an elephant, but I got up on the beam anyway. Maybe Miss Allen would change her mind when she saw me perform. "Find your balance," Miss Allen called. "Arch back slowly. Try." I did try, sort of. I can do a back bend on a floor mat, but on a 4-inch beam 3 feet off the ground? I knew I would fall off, and I did, twice. My shoulder hurt from the second fall, and I didn't get up right away. Maybe my shoulder was sprained. Maybe I wouldn't have to be in the show. Suddenly, the girls started shrieking, and they all rushed towards the door. What was happening? I sat up on the mat to look. A man stood outside the doorway, and the girls crowded close. Miss Allen blew her whistle. "Girls, I told you Mr. T would visit our class, and here he is." Everyone stopped talking. I stood up and walked to the side of the gym. Miss Allen took charge. "Pam, on the beam. Shelley, Anne, let's go." Miss Allen didn't call me. She knew I was no good. Mr. T sat down on the floor, right beside me, and Miss Allen stood beside him. First, Pam pranced across the beam. She did a handstand and a perfect backward bend. "Pam is my best gymnast," Miss Allen said proudly. Mr. T nodded. He watched with his hands on his knees, and I looked at his fingers. I'd never seen so many rings. Then Anne and Shelley took the floor. Shelley swung on the high bars, while Anne did a cartwheel across the mats. "What do you do?" Mr. T asked. "Do you work on the high bars or balance on the beam?" He was talking to me. He was looking right at me. Why would someone as important as Mr. T pay attention to me? "Oh, I'm not very good," I said. I'm just so on the beam. Miss Allen turned to look at me and Mr. T. You mean you just don't try to do your best, she said. I felt embarrassed, and I looked away. How did she know whether I tried or not? I wanted to yell, I'm so what? But Mr. T stood up. Come on, let's give it a try, he said, and then he walked me toward the beam. Pam looked surprised. The others settled on the floor mats to watch. Mr. T sat on the beam and took off his shoes and socks. Then he stood up on the beam. Come on up, he said. I walked to the end of the beam. My knees were shaking. My hands felt clammy. Mr. T offered me his hands. We don't all have to be stars, he said, but we should try to do our best. Do that, and God will do the rest. He leaned over and pulled me up beside him. I found my balance on the beam. Then I arched back slowly. Back. My fingertips touched the beam. I was doing it! A backward bend on the beam. When I swung back up, Mr. T was clapping just for me. Then, as if we had planned it, we jumped off the beam and landed on the mat together. Now everyone was clapping. Everyone was clapping for me and Mr. T. That's it for today. See you next time.